What's up, everybody? It's Tinker here. Today I'm going to be swapping out the turbocharger on my 1997 Mazda Miata. I'm going to start here by taking off this cold air intake. All it is a screwdriver. Should be able to loosen that up. Just loosen this up with a screwdriver. Flathead works. And you can pull your cold air intake off. Next thing I'm going to want to do, start trying to pull some of these hoses off. Ow. Like that. That should be the only one that's actually on the turbo at this point. So now I can start taking the intercooler piping off on the cold side of the turbo. Same thing, screwdriver, and you're just going to be loosening up a hose clamp. Loosen that hose clamp, and it'll pop off. Awesome. The next thing I could do is take off this oil fitting right here, and what this oil fitting does is moves oil from the oil pan to the turbo to lubricate this inside bearing there. And that's going to be an Allen key that I'm going to use to take that off. That appears to be the right size. I did tighten these down quite a bit when I put it on. I didn't want any leaking. There's the 2 bolts. Hold this oil fitting on, and then we could just throw that up here for now, out of the way. Okay, so we're back. It's no longer raining. Got my toolbox down here. Open this bad boy up, and the next thing we're going to be doing is taking off the exhaust. Like I said, I've sheared off 2 bolts, these 2 top ones, so I'm not going to have to worry about those. Hopefully this one sheared off far enough in to where this is still going to come off, kind of like the last one did. You can always hope and pray. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bolt here and this bolt here off, and it should pop right off. Start with 14 to see if that's the size. It is. Look at that. I know a thing or two about a thing or two. Woo. We're going to use a ratchet. I am going to have to reuse this gasket because the gasket they gave me is about a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick. It's way too thick for me to actually use on this because this exhaust manifold is butt up against the firewall here as it is. So there's not going to be enough space, sadly, for me to actually use the gasket that they provided. Come on, Bessie. There she goes. Nice bolts. I do believe that this kit gives me new bolts, which is great. New bolts. Also gives me gloves. I'm not going to use them because I'm stubborn. And there it is. So next step for taking this turbo off is these bolts right there. I do believe these are also 14s, but I need a deep well to get inside those. Might actually be a 15, but we're going to find out. It is a 15. That's what I thought. I said that first. 15 millimeter deep well socket, and that'll bring this right off. There she goes, screaming around the track. It's trains, planes, and automobiles. That's the second time I've said that in a YouTube video. Golly. There we go. Planes, trains, I need a socket for that. A wrench. Sorry, I said wrench. I said wrench, not socket. There she goes. She's feisty, real feisty. There she be. They're all loosened up. Start taking them off by hand now. Stinking lowered cars, man. They're a piece of work. You gotta cut your springs to get them this low. I heard somebody say. Why do you cut your springs to get your car so low? It's not how it works, but I'll let you continue to be ignorant. Oh, gotta stretch the old back. Trying to keep this incredibly boring part of this video from being sped up. I'm trying to be entertaining. Is it working? Am I entertaining you? Please say yes so YouTube can pay me. YouTube's never gonna pay me. All right, this next step is going to involve jacking up the engine just a wee bit. So go get the old trusty jack, bring it on over here, aim it at the engine, and then start jacking. I should word that so much different. And I start jacking. All right. I don't know if you can see, the old engine's coming up. And now she's got enough clearance for this turbo to come off. All I'm gonna do is pull it. And there she is. She's off. But what I've got to do actually is take the oil return line off the bottom. I've got to get my trusty screwdriver again. And stick it in here and then loosen up the hose clamp as you do. And you pull off the oil fitting. Well, it's not really fitting. But that concludes removing the turbocharger. I'll show you what I was talking about with the little bit of play in here. It moves side to side, up and down like a roller coaster. And it's a little bit dirty in there. You can see there's a little bit of oil leaking through. So I'm gonna put me a new turbocharger on and we're gonna have fun. I'm gonna take some of this time to explain a little bit about a turbo setup. This right here, this is called your wastegate or blow-off valve. I'm sorry, this is your blow-off valve. Sometimes those turbos will have a blow-off valve on the turbo. This is not one of those. This blow-off valve, what it does is when you let off the gas while you're under boost, all of that pressure has to go somewhere. Without one of these, that's when you get that turbo sound. My turbo still gets that sound, even though it's got a wastegate, or it's got a wastegate and a blow-off valve. It still gets the What that sound is pressure being pushed back into the turbo and it's slowing it down. It's got to go somewhere, so it ends up just kind of dispersing back into the turbo. This mitigates that. It gives it an exit route to come out of. There's actually supposed to be a downpipe here that goes down here and reroutes it. But we're cheap, and that broke, and I didn't want to fix it. So yeah, I don't feel like welding things. I don't want to weld things. I also don't have bolts for it. So yeah, there's that. Beautiful setup. It only works like once in a while. And what that does is it also helps you with your boost. This line right here that I took off of the turbo, right here, goes through and up into the cab. And now where that does is it tells you your boost pressure, as well as the one coming off of the wastegate here. All of these are connected to blow-off valve, wastegate, and your pressure gauge on the inside of the cab. This is an intercooler pipe. Old diesel engines did not have an intercooler or intercooler piping. What it was just straight turbo connected to the intake manifold. That gives you hotter air that's being pushed out, and hotter air doesn't compress as well as colder air. So there's a front-mounted intercooler down in here. You can't really see it. There's my food over there. You can't really see it, but what that intercooler does is cool down that air before it goes into the intake manifold, so that that cooler air is able to compress better. You get more boost pressure, and your engine fires better. There's a lot more stuff you can do with an intercooler as far as tuning. That's why the old first gen diesel Cummins, people try to intercool them and they retune it so that way those beasts of diesel engines can work to their maximum, because those are the king. Those 5.9, no, is it 6? I think it's a 5.9. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's either 5.9 or 6.3 is the first gen Cummins. I think I'm talking out of my rear end here. But those first gen 12 valve Cummins are the king of diesel engines. I'll let anybody tell you different. This is not a diesel engine. I guess what we could get into next here is showing you guys how to clock a turbo. Here's my new turbocharger, shiny blue, beautiful blades in there. See the blades here as well for the exhaust side. And what we're gonna do, throw all this stuff back to where it came from, and we're hopefully gonna have enough clearance to throw this thing on. We don't. We've actually got to clock this thing off of the mounting, because this compression side right here butts up against this firewall in there. So we've got to do this side of the clocking off of the turbo, or off of the exhaust manifold, which makes it a little bit harder, but it's not impossible. So I'm gonna show you guys how to clock a turbocharger. So we're over here in the shade. Let me adjust this just a little bit. We're over here in the shade with the turbocharger and an assortment of tools, as you can kind of see over in this area. Cool. So what we're gonna do is clock this turbo. Now we need to find, since we're only doing this side for now, we need to find the sizes that fit here. So I'm gonna guess, so 13 mil. Hey, I was correct. All right, cool. So what we're gonna do with that 13 millimeter is we are just going to loosen these. Just loosen them. They're on there. They're just a wee bit on there. I don't want to damage this by sliding it on the concrete. So hopefully I can just kind of get it unstuck. Oh, she's gonna take some elbow grease. All right, I'm gonna show you guys a trick with this. What you can do is something I've done quite a bit. You don't want to go that way, but you do this, put it on there like so. Gives you a little bit of extra leverage. That'll allow you to do, man, that thing is on there. Ugh. What I thought that was gonna allow me to do without having to stand on this turbo is actually loosen these up. I guess that's not the case. There it goes. There we go. Awesome. That's one down. I'll loosen that up, and hopefully these are not the same. There we go. That one. There we go. This one's loose. That one's loose. This one needs to get loosened. There we go. I really hope I'm not chipping the paint. I bought this literally because of the paint and how it matches my car. This is gonna be another one where I've got to stand on her. Great. Nope. No bueno. There we go. Loosen it up. Loosen these all up a good couple of turns. You don't want these coming out. These come out, you're gonna have a bad time. Essentially what they do, you see this seam right here. They hold the turbo to that seam, and this clamp right here presses down on that to not allow this to turn. We are loosening that up so that it will turn, which is great. It's a great thing clocking turbochargers. And did I already get this one? I did. So now that they're all loosened, should be able to, aha, there we go. I want it right about there. As you can see, this is being held stationary and this is able to spin. That's what I want. I want it about there because that's where the other one is, which is great. And now I can go back and tighten all these down. And there's a way you have to tighten these down. So if you can see right here, there's 3 bolts that run along this clamp. You want to tighten the outsides first and then the inside. Tighten that down, just get it snug, don't tighten it just yet. And then you want to snug this side down, and then I'm gonna snug this one. Now you can crank on the middle one and then move to the outside. Make sure those are tight as well. All right, and now we'll move to the other side of the turbo. I'm ruining my paint doing this, which it was gonna have to be done anyways, so I guess I'm not all that mad. I'm just gonna hand snug these for now, and I'll go back to the middle and I'll wrench down. Okay, that's snug. We'll go to the outsides, make sure they're snug. Cool. Snug it up, and now you go back to the middle, really crank down on it, make sure it's on there. And you go to the outsides and you really crank down on it, make sure it's on there. Cool. All right. Our turbo is about half clocked. They say never go off half clocked, but I'm gonna go off half clock. How's that sound? I am now fully able to clock my turbo. You're actually supposed to do it both this side and this side so that everything can spin freely. Now what I'm gonna do is try to line it up as best as possible so that this is straight up and down and this is where I need it to be, right about there. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is hold this in place and just tighten down one of the bolts. Very tight. All right. So that's tight. That's not going to move. All that's going to move is this now. Keep that about where it needs to be, which is right about there. And I'll tighten down one of the bolts so that it does not move. Cool. And now I can take it off and tighten down the rest of it. All right. Next thing we're gonna have to do, take that oil return off of the old turbo, put it on the new one. And I'm gonna skip that because it's just 2 Allen keys right there and the thing will pop off. We'll throw a new gasket on the other side, throw that one on there, clean it up a little bit, and the turbo will be ready to put on. So we've got the oil return fitting off and a brand new gasket to put over it. We're gonna be putting that on there. Gasket goes down, fitting goes on. And then we get, oh shoot, gasket down, fitting on. Don't hit it with your foot, knock the whole thing off. Bolts and your washers. Put washer on bolt, bolt and hole. Like so. Washer on bolt. Bolt. Okay. And now your oil fitting is on the turbo. We've got our turbo set on here. Got the oil return line down here on there. Got our vacuum line up here, running up there. And now what we've got to do is get this lined up. What I want to make sure of is that these bolts that they gave me do in fact go to that side of the turbo. If they did not, I would have to go buy some bolts. And it looks like I do not have to do such a thing. So that is awesome. Like I said before, we're going to be reusing the old gasket. Kind of disgusting, but it's in one piece. And it's worked. We've taken this turbo off 3-4 times now. Well, not this turbo, but the other one. We've taken it off 3-4 times for different reasons. And it's held up, so that's a good sign. What I'm going to be doing is putting this over. I'll bolt up there. And then trying to hold this in place while I get one of these to line up. You want to go? This is going to be a battle, I just know it. It would help if I would go righty-tighty, not lefty-loosey. That helps when you're tightening things to go the right way. Probably why this was such a battle. All right, now I've got one bolt in. I can go ahead and try to line up the rest. Out of breath, man, that was a battle. I have to back this one out just a little bit to get enough clearance. This one. Come on, you stupid thing. So I've got everything connected, oil lines, oil feed, mounted up tight, and the intercooler, but this does not fit. The exhaust will not bolt up to this turbo. So my solution to this problem is going to be to take, this isn't hooked up to anything, which is nice, is to take this exhaust off and hood stack it. That's going to be my solution. It's not going to happen in this video. This video is basically to install this turbo and see kind of what happens. And that's what happened. I could take the hot side of this turbo off, put it on here, but that's the whole reason I bought this one, is so that the bolts would actually thread in, and that's got 2 bolts that don't fit. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for subscribing, liking the video, all that fun stuff, and watching me ramble on through replacing this turbocharger as best I possibly could. So thank you very much. This has been Tinker. Peace out.